is, simply said, how do you know what to do in a foreign situation? Okay? So, for example, I'm not going to give you examples. So, just for the recording, could you just state your name?
Lauren Massman.
And where are you from?
Virginia, the United States.
Virginia. Very cool. All right. So, whatever comes to mind, can you describe me an earlier restaurant experience? There's no criteria. Describe it however you feel. One of the earliest times you got here, maybe in your first few months or your first 6 months or whatever.
My earliest restaurant experience?
Yes. Something that stands out, maybe.
I don't know. Earliest restaurant experience, I think, was my coworker John and I had been here maybe a week or so, and we took the train. We were living out in Nangka, and we took the train into Tainan and just wandered around the city and found a stand that had pictures, so that then we were able to point to the food that we wanted and just pointed to two things, and that's what we ordered.
Could you describe the stand? What is a stand exactly?
Stand, it was, I guess now that I realize, more like a normal kind of restaurant here, that it is the shop front where they have kind of like the counter up front, and then there's seating both behind the counter, inside, and out on the sidewalk.
Okay. So what kind of restaurant was it? Do you remember?
Local Taiwanese food.
Do you know what was the most challenging part of that experience?
Just getting
Or maybe there was
to an agreement, yeah. Mm-hmm. That being able to have the cook understand what we wanted, and...
Do you remember what you wanted?
I think we got...
Was there anything specific? I mean, apart from the dishes, is there anything specific that you wanted?
No, that we were just trying to go for like basic survival level. So being able to point at a picture, it's fine.
Could I ask you, how did you, maybe, it doesn't have to be that time, it could be that time, but how do you choose your restaurants?
Oh, ones that'll have English menu.
How would you know they have an English menu?
That I'll go in and ask.
How would you ask?
Yomeyo Yingman?
And did you do that when you first got here?
Oh, no. I've had to meet with a tutor to be able to get to that level.
So how did you do it when you first got here?
Places that had English on the billboard or outside. That if there was English anywhere posted outside, well, maybe there was English inside too.
Okay. So thinking back of that experience and another experience, what were whatever you defined as the first part of the restaurant experience, can you walk me through it?
First part.
Whatever that means to you.
Experience.
How do you enter a restaurant?
You walk in.
How? So, for example, going back to that restaurant, how do you know where the entrance is?
Wherever there's a break that you can walk in through.
What do you describe a break?
Some of them, it was different because to figure out, like, the fact that the restaurants here are indoor, outdoor, that they have the tables and the chairs on the sidewalk, that was something we're like, are we allowed to walk through? Do we just keep walking? Do we go out onto the street? Like,
how did you figure that one out?
I just started walking through them because it was more convenient for me.
Do you know, did you know which way to walk?
Which way to walk? I would just gauge it on, I walked through and nobody gave me a dirty look. So I figured it was okay.
Can you please, for the research, describe what a dirty look is?
Like scowled, just like,
okay.
Hate you,
okay.
foreigner.
Okay. And typically, what kind of restaurants were these?
That they were ones that, like, local, open to the outside.
Could you describe local? What does local mean to you?
Local means to me that it's not a chain.
Okay.
And that it looks like it's cooked by someone, in the back, that they're doing it themselves or out in front of everybody, and that it's...
What gives you that impression?
Just the style of it. I don't know. That it doesn't seem mass-produced.
Is there anything that gives you that communicates that to you? Does anyone tell you, or... I'm kind of leading, which I shouldn't be doing.
No, nobody tells me, but there's this Thai restaurant near my house I like to go to. And even days where I don't go eat there, I see the woman, it's one woman, like outside chopping vegetables on the sidewalk.
And what does that tell you?
That everything's like homemade. Done.
Okay. And that means?
I don't know. It seems more like...
Is that a positive thing or a negative thing?
It's a positive thing because it means everything's fresh.
Okay.
But then maybe a negative thing simply because like health standards.
What do you mean exactly?
Like, is everything really clean?
Okay. Now let's go back to maybe that experience that you had that's more vivid. Okay, so you described walking in. How did you find a place to sit? Did you sit?
We did. The proprietor just kind of motioned towards 2 stools it was a counter up against the wall.
Okay. And how did you manage to order?
Pointing at the pictures.
Pointing at the pictures?
Mm-hmm. So one.
And did you describe in detail how exactly did the ordering happen? From your memory. So we could start from the point that you sat down.
Right. Well, we didn't sit down first. That we walked up, and it was the counter, and that was breaking apart the sidewalk, and then inside.
Can you describe the counter? What do you mean exactly?
I'm trying to remember. That it was. It seemed that they had like a half wall up and then a counter that was an L leading inside.
Okay.
And that there were, I think, stoves behind them.
Okay.
So, and they, just had pictures out on.
Okay, and then how did, okay, so let's continue with, so you said you ordered before you sat down? Is that what you said? Can you explain exactly how that happened? How did you know where to find the menu?
Because it was already posted. That they had pictures of the dishes.
Where were the pictures of the dishes?
On the outside of the counter.
Okay, on what?
They were pictures.
Like photographs. Oh, okay.
Like photographs of dishes. Photographs of dishes.
Did you notice this before you walked into the restaurant?
We were walking down a street and they had a couple of different restaurants, and so we walked down and we were like, all right, we'll choose one of these, and okay, this one has pictures, so let's go with this one.
Okay, and then continue from there.
We pointed to the pictures.
How did you know who to order with?
That because my friend John and I were standing out there talking, the person, the cook or the owner, whoever this person is, walked up and like noticed us and was now paying attention to us, and so like said, we want one of these.
So you pointed at things?
Yeah.
Okay. And then what happened after?
And then they pointed at the stools.
Okay.
Notioning us to sit down.
All right. And then you guys, then continue?
Yeah. Then we sat down. I remember, we got tea, that they gave us little cups of tea.
Okay.
That I think they just brought them to us.
Okay. So you didn't order them? And how did you receive your food? What happened?
That somebody came and placed it in front of each of us.
And how did you know it was your food?
Because they placed it in front of us, and it looked like the pictures.
Okay. Okay, so is there anything about consuming of the food? Was there anything that stands out to you?
No.
Okay. Put things in your mouth?
Fine, yeah.
And what about, can you describe how you settled the bill?
I can't remember if they just did hand signal, that they'll do like 5-0 or...
Go back. Can you go back a little bit? Before that, let's say you finish your food. What happens after?
You finish your food, then stand up and walk back over, turn around to walk back over to where...
Why'd you do that?
Seemed like custom to do, that it didn't... I don't know, it didn't seem like it was going to be like a place where they were gonna come up and give us the bill.
What made you that impression? What gave you that impression?
That it wasn't like a fancy place, and we weren't sure if they were gonna do that, so it seemed like a better idea because we were finished and ready to go on to just get up and ask.
Okay. And describe that whole process, please.
So we just got up and asked, how much.
How did you?
I think we just spoke in English, but these are transactional interactions.
Okay.
Like, I know what it means to eat at a restaurant. They know what it means to serve people.
Okay.
So we just asked them how much, and I think they got the sense and that's we wanted to pay.
And how? Okay.
I can't remember if they did it by hand gesture or calculator. A lot of the times that they'll just punch in the number and then show you on the calculator how much you owe.
Okay. And then anything happened after that? And then
we paid and left.
Okay. So just a few more things. Is there anything that stands out about that experience or an experience like that?
Nothing that really stands out about it. It's certainly...
Or maybe unusual in your perspective.
Not unusual,
okay.
No, but that... it definitely gave me the sense that, I can survive without the language.
That brings me to my next question. So similar situations like this, where there's so there is a language barrier issue, right? How do you usually deal with a language barrier issue?
Well, I've learned some Chinese, certainly enough for cab drivers, to say my address and to give directions. That's something I've become okay with. Things that I know I'm going to have a language problem with, either if it's not something that I have to do or not something that I really want to do, I'll avoid it. I have, at school, anything that really, has to be done, I have somebody, one of my coworkers helps me with stuff, or I have friends who speak Chinese that will go and do stuff together, and so that helps. But I think just in dealing with things when I'm trying to deal with them and I don't speak Chinese, that I just try and be patient and smile a lot. Sticking to that experience for a while, what was the most helpful, it could be a thing, could be a person, action that lets you know what your next action should be? I think the most helpful thing is body language and gesturing. That pointing at things, smiling, nodding, they all help a lot.
What we just went through, can we do it one more time? And can we go through something maybe in the last month or last week, something a little bit more recent?
Something a little bit more recent.
Is there anything that stands out to you because I understand we all go through daily life and things get forgotten. Is there anything that stands out to you? Or maybe it stands out in terms of you remember a little bit more clearer?
Where the language issue?
It wasn't a language issue. Meaning where you had an experience, but you went to a restaurant that you should have a local restaurant or a restaurant that's not native to the United States. Is there any other? What I'm trying to say is there. When you're talking about what helps me know where to go is the lack of scowls. Is that your kind of? Is that what you usually do? Is that a normal thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Very interesting.
I don't know. As long as people don't look at me funny, I'm assuming it's okay. I'm sure there has been something recently. I don't know, where I felt a cultural divide or a language barrier.
And how did you solve it? Let me turn this around then. Can you tell me a situation where, what situation that was very confusing about what your role should be in a situation, what you should be doing?
I remember, so last August, when I first got here, going to the movies
Mm-hmm.
with, again, my friend John. And we went to the movies, and I spilled popcorn in the lobby as we were waiting to go into the theater.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what do I do? And so I just like walked away, and an old woman walked up to John and made him clean it up.
How did she make him clean it up?
She tapped him on the shoulder and was like, pointed at it and said something in Chinese, and like told him that he like made him feel like he had to clean it up.
And how about you? Or
I just walked away.
ah, okay.
Yeah. So I remember that very clearly. In the last month, language barrier.
Doesn't have to be a language barrier. I'm saying, in what situation were you confused about what you should be doing? That was a good example.
What situations?
Or any situation. And if there wasn't, there wasn't.
Going to the doctor.
Mm-hmm.
That was a little confusing because so I went up there and, I had to pay $200, but then I had to go sit down, and then they called me in, but made me sit somewhere else, and then they gave, the doctor, he spoke some English, but not really, and then putting me into the room.
How did they put you in the room? Like
that the nurse gestured for me to go
and what
into
about
the
sitting
room.
down? Was it the same?
Yeah. It was gesturing and sitting down, or that, was I supposed to sit on this bench, or was I supposed to go back outside and
Mm-hmm.
wait? And then that, they all
How do you determine?
that the other person was sitting there? So I thought, okay, I'll just sit here and wait, because I was still waiting to get something from them. So that was a little confusing. Going
Okay.
to the hospital is always, going to hospital is always a little tricky. A couple months ago, when was this? December, I was having numbness at the ends of my toes.
Mm-hmm.
And I went and I told the doctor this, and they made, the general practitioner made me an appointment, or helped me make an appointment to go get shock testing or get my nerve endings.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went and had that done, and I was not able to make an appointment to get those test results.
You were not.
I eventually was, but they told me, so I was trying to get the test results for this nerve ending, and they told me, they're like, okay, go downstairs to the registration desk and make an appointment. Show them this paper.
They said it to you in English?
Yes.
Okay.
In broken, somewhat English. And my understanding was I was supposed to go down to this desk and show them this paper, and they'd make me an appointment. They put in my card, and that they'd see it in my card as well. They put in my card, and then they sent me to the gynecologist.
Okay. So
We had a complete misunderstanding.
So what do you mean they send you? Can you break that down? What do you mean they send you to the gynecologist?
They told me, they were like, okay, go to this room. And I went up to that room,
Also,
and it was the gynecologist.
okay, interesting. If you don't,
No.
that's it. Okay. I think I should be okay for this. Let me ask you a final question. When you were in, you must have been in restaurants. No, you must have been. Have you been to restaurants that did not have images, pictures?
Yes.
How did you deal with that situation?
Either that I point on the food, they'll have food cases out,
Okay.
or that I go with someone who speaks the read Chinese,
Okay.
Chinese.
Okay. And how's there at any stage? Was there any confusion, and what helped you determine? For example, paying the bill. Have you ever had any confusion how to pay the bill? or what gave you the most clues usually how to pay the bills? So you mentioned earlier that you felt like it was the right thing to do, but you weren't sure why.
Just watching what other people do.
Okay, makes sense. Okay, and ordering. What about ordering?
Ordering, again, just watching what everybody else does.
Okay, very interesting. Cool. All right, that's it. That's all I need. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I know it's super hot here.
I know.
But it's quiet, so. But anyway, you got M&Ms. Thank you.
Thank you.